So how does imbalance in our homeostatic mechanism, or lack of homeostasis, or being out of homeostasis, how can that make us fat? It's a little bit tricky to understand because a lot of times our homeostasis has been knocked out of balance. And what we actually call a stress in physiology, so people like say, oh, I'm stressed, and there's all these words, we use stress right and left. But what stress actually means is anything that can act to knock you out of homeostasis. So anything that would nudge you from staying on that road, that range that we like to go on, a stress would tend to knock you off to the shoulder or into the ditch on the other side. So what we really are trying to do is to address a problem with where are you in relation to where your homeostasis should be. So you don't need to follow down the little yellow line in the middle. You just need to stay within this range. And the way that homeostasis works in general in the body is you drift from one side, and then that will activate hormones and chemicals and physiologic processes that will start to change the direction, and then you drift along until you hit this side. Very much like the thermostat in your house. Now that's a pretty simple, almost simplistic explanation of it. It's obviously more complex than that, but the gist of it is that's how it works. So any stress is going to tend to make you move out of homeostasis. Now, we're getting fat because, one, our homeostatic mechanism is, the range is being broadened, which isn't a good thing. The range is being shifted, which also isn't a good thing. And most importantly, that we need to address first is that our body is in homeostasis with what it thinks that this environment is telling us it needs to do. Because homeostasis can't just respond to what's happening now. Homeostasis needs to respond to what our brain predicts is going to happen. So we're always making these adjustments based on what might happen. So it's actually homeostasis when you're in a highly threatening environment, that's a stress, to be on hyper alert, to have adrenaline and things like that. So that would be a normal homeostatic response, but then it should go away when the threat isn't there. So we are living in an environment right now that is making our homeostatic mechanism act correctly if what we wanted to do was store fat for the winter. So we're eating food in such a way that would have only been available in nature. We're eating all the time. We're eating a lot of carbohydrates. We're eating in such a way that the environment predicts that with food abundance, there's soon going to be famine. So it's a normal and natural thing for us to respond homeostatically to abundant food by overeating. So that actually is normal homeostasis. So what we need to do then is to understand that we're responding to an environment we created, because we created all this food around us. And when we do that, we mess with our evolutionary history. Because I hear all the time as a geneticist, people will say, well, we've evolved so much. But they usually are talking about we've evolved since civilization started, which was only 10,000 years ago. Now, humans have been around for millions of years, and our DNA has changed very little. We're the big-brained, upright, walking primates. So we branched off from the family that would have included the other great apes, the chimpanzees and the gorillas, more than like 5-7 million years ago, even more. And we are the only humans. Now, we have some human relatives, but this current human, we're the only ones. And we haven't evolved that much. What we have done is evolved into something, a species that's highly adaptable. And that's what we're able to do. Because of our big brain, we can learn and adapt to new and different environments. We did really well with that for millions of years. Did pretty well with it since agriculture was invented about 10,000 years ago. But since the industrial age, which is really in the last 100 years or less, we have been adapting the environment to us, and it isn't really doing a very helpful job to our health. So we need to understand is when you keep shifting the environment, your body doesn't know how to adjust to that. So the environment moves and your body tries to move, and it's like walking through a turnstile at the L or the train station, and you go up and you think it's gonna have that resistance when you push in it, and it isn't how it's predictable. So you can't know how much pressure. Your body doesn't know how to respond to this. And this is a result of our altering the environment. Now, that's made things a lot more convenient for us. In a lot of ways, they've made it safer for us, but we need to look and refine what we've chosen to do, because it has created a lot of problems with our ability to maintain homeostasis, because the environment is no longer predictable. We're controlling the environment. So we better learn to control it in a better way for our health.